Yep.
My name is Eugene Sandberg. I was drafted in, March 1943. And from there we went down to, in Hibbing, Minnesota. From there there was 3 busloads of us fellows that went down on that day, and we went down to Fort Snelling and went through that, and then from there we went down to Camp Harahan in New Orleans for basic training. The rifle range was at Seidel, Louisiana, and from camp we had to cross Lake Pontchartrain to get there. After basic training we went to Clovis, New Mexico for the further training, and then from there we left to Bakersfield, California.
Now, what branch of service was it again?
Army.
Okay.
And then from there we boarded a boat at St. Peter Harbor. It was the Mariposa was a luxury liner converted to a troop ship. It was too fast for convoy, so we left alone.
Wow.
And we went down through New Zealand. We stopped at Hobart, Tasmania for fueling the ship and getting supplies on 2 days. We were there, and then from there we left, the boat left, we went almost straight to the African coast and then followed the coast up to Bombay, India. Because I guess there was a lot of Japanese submarines yet in the Indian Ocean. And from there we went east across India to Calcutta
How did you go
on a
by
troop train.
Troop train, okay.
Which were more or less boxcars over there. And then from there we went by train. I can't remember how far, but anyway, we ended up on a riverboats, our outfit. And they were like paddle boats. And from there we went to a place where we had to portage across about 2 miles to another river, and from there we kept going, and then we finally ended up to where we were supposed to land, I guess. And
Now, were you part of an infantry group or what?
no, we was part of a railroad operating battalion. We were supposed, I don't know what we were supposed to do. I still don't know why in the hell we were there, but anyway, we were trained, you know. We were issued carbines, 30 caliber carbines and 45s. And I think they figured that there might be some messy stuff going on, but anyway, we ended up at, they called it Pandu there, and it's on the Bemidji River. And there was a ferry there that went across the river. It was probably about a mile wide. It was a huge, big river. And then on the other side, there was only a few miles, and then you were into Burma, and we were headed for Lido. Of course, the railroad didn't go that far that time, but we hauled trucks and all that stuff when they were building that Lido road. What they were trying to do was get an entryway into China to get China's troops down in there, into Burma. They were associated with the American troops and stuff. Well, with us, we've seen a lot of Chinese, but oh, I don't know, I didn't a heck of a lot.
How long were you there then?
2 years. I was there 2 years.
What did they have you doing?
Well, run a railroad,
Okay.
and we fixed engines up on some of them. We mounted 50 caliber machine guns on the back end and on some of the tail end, and sometimes we had regular cars made up with troops on them. And
Where did these guns come from? You brought them with you?
they were American. Most of the stuff we got was American.
How did it get there for you to use?
Well, it came up, I suppose, from Calcutta, and
Okay.
it was one of those funny things. There was so much there that was going on that I never found out about it until after. I'm still finding out things now that I didn't know was going on. One of the things was that I was wondering why that we were kind of suppressed. And after I found out that it was because the Indians were figuring to revolt against England. We left there well, I got home in January 46. And in 47, they got their independence, you know.
Right.
And it seemed like that whenever something was going on, we were, you know, kind of suppressed, you know. We wasn't going to get, and they were afraid that the United States might go on the revolutionary side and with the Indians, you know. It was a funny. I've been reading about it.
Okay.
That's the only time that I've been finding out what the hell, and I still don't know what the hell we were doing over there, you know. But I guess we accomplished quite a bit.
Well, did you have any problem with the Japanese soldiers at that time, or they didn't get?
No, we run prisoners, Japanese prisoners and stuff, but we were out of that. They kept us out.
Now, what do you mean run prisoners? You carried them on the train?
Yes.
Now, where did they come from?
Well, they come from Burma.
Who captured them?
Usually the British and the Indian Army. You know, they had that. Like I said at the first, it's a good thing it took us so long to get there. God, we was on that boat for 34 days, I think. And then when we got there, and then I just was reading. I got a book there, The Battle That Saved India, you know, and that was at Impala. And the Japanese were already in India. And in 1944, we landed there in 44. But by the time that we got there, I've been looking at the book, the time span and stuff. That the English and the Australians, there was a lot of Australians there, Army, and Indian Army, and they had pushed them back into Burma. And they were, if we would have been there when that was going on, we was only about 100 miles north of there. We would have probably been, used the experience and stuff that we were trained to do, you know, we would have been in the mess, I think. But
what happened to the Japanese prisoners? Where were they? Where'd you guys take them
I don't
to?
know where they were going. They were on the trains and stuff. And then a lot of wounded, you know, were on trains and stuff. We really were buttoned down in an area there that we didn't get out of there.
So you were lucky. You didn't have to.
Yeah, we were lucky. That's what I thought afterwards. I said, God darn, they said, we were pretty lucky that it happened just before we got there. Otherwise, I'm sure that we would have had. But then later on, American troops did get involved. Merle's Marauders.
Yep. They
went through. We hauled a lot of them on trains into Burma, and they were a tough bunch. Really.
They went quite a ways into Burma, didn't they?
Oh God, yeah. They were, and what they were made up of all different units in the army, and most of them they were misfits. You know, I mean, But they sure as hell could fight, I guess. And,
Did they ever come out the same way, or they?
I don't remember. I don't know. I don't think so. Like I said, we were stuck there, and you can think about being there. Well, when I left home, it was 3 years before I seen my family again. And there was people there, you know, young men that were married and had wives, and here they're. We had quite a few. They called them Section 8s. They
Yep.
went goofier than hell, you know.
Yep.
And on the boat coming back, there was one section. It was a regular troop carrier that we came back on, and a general type boat. But when we come back, we came through the Red Sea and the Mediterranean out into the Mediterranean.
What year was that? Do you remember?
45.
Now,
It was November of 45.
had the bomb been dropped on Japan at that time? Yet, do you know?
No,
Okay.
no, because the European war was over already before it was over where we were. And they were already starting to train European troops to get ready for the invasion of
Right.
Japan. So that was before the bomb was dropped.
So you got out before?
Well, I was discharged in January of 46, so it was after the bomb.
How'd you hear about it? I mean, what?
I don't know if we even heard. We didn't have anything where we were.
No communication.
We were in a jungle. And after I looked at that documentary on there, it don't look like it's changed the way that people live. We had, I got a picture there of a big old Bengal tiger laying on the front of the headquarters office there. One of the officers had shot it, and there's a picture there of one of these here big iguana lizards, you know, about 6 foot long. My buddy and I, we went out. He wanted one, and I said, "What the hell do you want one of them for?" Anyway, he says, I used to trap even before I went into the service when I was young, you know. And he said, "Do you think you could trap one of them?" I said, "Well, yeah, I think, you know, when you're a smart kid, you know." He said, "Yeah, goddamn, I can do that." So we caught one, snared one. And then I said, "What are you going to do with it now?" Well, he said, "I'm going to kill it and skin it." and he did. And dried it up, hung it on the side of they called them bashes. They were bamboo huts that we lived in, and dried it. And then when it was dry, he rolled it up and took it home with him.
Geez, no, you were living in the bamboo huts.
Yeah, bashes they call
Okay.
them.
What do you do about bugs, mosquitoes?
Well,
and
you
the-
just lived
Net-
with them, that's all. We had mosquito nettings on the bed at
Okay.
night, and that was about it. We had gas lanterns they didn't have electricity where
Yeah.
we were. So we didn't get a hell of a lot. We didn't see a lot or hear a lot.
Was there any problems with malaria?
Oh, practically everybody got it. Dysentery.
Yeah.
Some of the guys got malaria and dysentery at the same time, and they died, you know. There was nothing left
Yep.
they couldn't live anymore, you know. We didn't have a hospital or anything there. There was a missionary that Dr. Seagraves, his name was, and he'd been in Burma teaching nurses and stuff like for hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Japs came, they chased him out. And he came out with a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot, there was probably maybe about 25 nurses, Burmese nurses that he had trained. And there was a missionary there, and he set up kind of like a hospital there. And that was, as far as dysentery and stuff, it's something that when we got there that we didn't have a lot of medical stuff there. Even when the guy had to get his had a toothache or something, or get a tooth pulled, there was a guy sitting there on a machine, and he was going like this with his feet in his hands, you know, and to start the drill, and the dentist would be drilling in your teeth.
How did you communicate with the outside world? Did you have radios?
We didn't.
No radios?
No. We didn't communicate with anybody.
How did they know?
That's what I say. I wonder sometimes why we were even stuck to a place like that, you know.
How did they know what you guys were doing if you couldn't communicate by radio?
I don't know.
Wow. How'd you know it was time to go home then?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have any radios. Maybe headquarters had radios. They must have, you know. Somebody must have been keeping track of outside, you know. But we didn't. Like I said, I think they kept us pretty well under their thumb, and I don't, you know, after the war, when I started reading documentaries and stuff, I found out that probably was the reason that they didn't want the Americans to. And then when we left there, we had to turn in all of our armory stuff, rifles and stuff. And I heard that they just took acetylene torches and cut them in half so that the Indians couldn't get them. You know, they were, everything that we had there was destroyed. In some of those pictures, you'll see that there's not a piece of machinery anyplace. The only vehicles were U.S. Army vehicles. In that part of the world, there was nothing. They were very primitive. Everything was, I'll show you them later if you want to see them, but when they sawed some lumber, if they needed it, two guys, one on up high and one below, and the log was up, and they were sawing by hand to get boards. All they needed to build those bashes was a knife. It was a kind of a curved knife, and they whacked that stuff, split it, and enough to make even stuff to tie everything together with. You know, pretty nice how they could do that, you know. And there was about, I think there was like 8 of us in each one of those bashes.
Well, you were lucky to have a quiet area to be in.
Yes, we had around where the ferry was and stuff. The English had anti-aircraft guns all around there. Most of them were 20 millimeters, and every once in a while they'd, I think they were practicing or whatever, but they'd hear that boom, 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 boom. You know how they sound.
Sure. Yeah.
And we got along pretty good with them because we were right in with them there.
Sure.
And, the Aussies and stuff, you know, they didn't like to be called English or Limeys. They were Aussies.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to do that. Well, we'll look at some pictures.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you for stopping in and inquiring about stuff like that.
Oh, that's
because
important.
You're probably one of the first ones that I ever really talked to about this stuff.
Yeah. Well, we have to record it. I don't want to.